Hello and welcome to the Predator Hunting Grounds trailer. How's everyone doing? Hey! You all look like you're having a good time. My name is Adam Kovic. I work for a YouTube channel and a company called Rooster Teeth. I work for a bunch of people called Funhouse. You may have heard some familiar voices in that trailer. We'll talk about that later. I'm moderating this panel, but I am here talking about the game and going to let the guys who are actually making the game do all the talking from Illfonic. I'm just going to go on the line here. We got Tramal Isaac, who is the VP of Art. Hello. Clap harder. Chief Creative Officer over there at Illfonic, Jared Garrettson. I call him Scary Gary. He's a good man. And finally, lead designer, Jordan Matheson. Hit your mic harder. That was good. Hey. So, yeah, we're just going to be going down, just talking about the game. I've been given some notes. We're going to be burning right through this thing. I have a lot of questions for you guys, but first, I just want to talk about the creation and the design of the game. Got some early screens here. When did you guys first start working on this?
So the idea of Predator Hunting Ground was, of course, after Friday the 13th. We wanted to do a follow-up with everything that we learned from the asymmetrical gameplay of that game. And really, it was kind of a night out drinking, which was kind of weird. And we were just throwing out ideas, a lot of terrible ideas. And amazingly enough, Jordan threw out the idea of Predator. And it was like the night before E3. It was like my first day, I think Jordan's first day at Illfonic. And threw out the idea, and luckily enough, someone came across a guy from Fox, and then we had a phone call with Fox, and I had worked with like 2 or 3 guys at Fox at previous companies, and it just rolled, and then we kind of got the idea, and we presented it to PlayStation, and amazingly enough, they were starting second party, which, if those of you don't know the difference between first party, second party, third party is an external group. First party is like their big, multi-$100 million games, and then second party is kind of like an independent PlayStation label. And so it was just an amazing amount of luck, and so we started working on this game, and it's kind of crazy for us to go from a couple of guys just drinking and throwing out crazy ideas to it being, a big game that people are actually getting to see and pretty hyped about. So it's been really rad, and we're showing some of these images, and Jordan can talk to a lot of these that we're going through. To being white boxes in a month into the process.
Yeah, it is within the first few months. I mean, when the idea came up, I think that moment when we all knew it was going to be that awesome experience, because everything you just think about that movie, it just fits so perfectly into what the kind of game we wanted to create with it. And early on, yeah, we just needed to find out, like, how can we make this experience great for 2 different types of games? Like, it feels like we're building not just one game here, but we have the Predator, we have the Fire Team, and both experiences need to be completely different. And early on, the biggest thing we knew we had to incorporate was the Predator in the trees. Like, he needed to be able to move through the trees. He needed to be able to have that height advantage, to be able to hide from the Fire Team, to move through the different environments, and then ultimately be able to hunt and stalk from up there. So a lot of the white boxing came down to kind of laying out the areas and making sure that, like, okay, this is how we're going to design it on 2 different levels, to make sure that when he's in there, he feels powerful, fast, quick, and stealthy at the same time.
Were there any unforeseen hurdles that you guys hit when designing a game like this? Since, like you said, you are essentially making 2 games, because someone will play as the Predator, people will play as the soldiers, and there's 2 different things going on.
It was a really stupid idea, honestly, because we pitched 1 game, and then we realized that we had to make 2 games. And I mean, because the Predator's third person has clamber systems and a litany of weapons that you would play in a Predator game, and then we had to make another game, which was the Fire Team, and we had to make another game where you play against AI and you have this kind of co-op experience with occasionally a Predator that comes in and rips some spines out of people. I mean, I'm extremely proud of what this team has done for this thing, but we definitely learned a lot to ask for a lot more money next time.
Well, you guys are a pretty small team, though, right?
Yeah,
I think that's
we're-
one thing that I don't think a lot of people see. You see the final product, but you don't see the faces behind it typically. So, like, what's your size right now, especially compared to the previous titles you've worked on?
Yeah, I mean, we're about 35?
About, yeah, just a little over 30
Yeah.
for our team. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a challenge, and like a lot of it was, all from the ground up, just developing these systems. And yeah, with the two different styles that come with it, just so many different things need to go into each side that, like Jared said, like we continually kind of reach this point where we're like, wow, this is continuing to add up, because we wanted to make sure that each experience is going to be unique. But yeah, that also comes with a lot of hurdles, because the more and more times you get in there and realize that, hey, now we have to create this entire AI system, like showing right there, we have to make sure the AI are in the world sensing and moving about, reacting to the fire team as well as the predator in unique ways.
Yeah, and this is always cool stuff. I love seeing the early stages of gameplay, but I want to talk a little bit about the art. At what point did you start to inject sort of the predator look and feel into the game, Jamal?
That was a little bit later in the process. Well, I mean, we say later because the process for this particular game was fairly short. We were talking about game development. We got a couple, like here, we started working on some of the kind of initial sections of the game and trying to get a look and feel and establishing exactly what the high bar is for each one of those assets. And this was one of the concepts that we originally came up with for one of the maps that we have. And, just to give people an idea of what the final product could look like at any point in time. We started here and we did a bunch of different iterations, and we kind of ended up in a slightly different place, but it still got the same kind of tone to it. And here's another kind of look on the jungle that we were trying to achieve. We took bits and pieces from this, and obviously this is just kind of a mood painting, and we're just taking that, and then design goes in and does what they need to do in order to get the game to play properly. So we just kind of use this as a jumping off point to when we start designing these maps.
Right.
But a lot of this was, we take a lot of inspiration from the '87 Predator movie. Like if that were to be what the genesis of this is, definitely we wanted the vibe of it, and for the canon, that's the most that we pull from everything. So when we started working on this, like, it needs to be jungle, needs to feel like that, and I feel like the concepts definitely feel like that expanded world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it comes to game development, like, the worst thing you could possibly do is say, I want to make a jungle game, and we did that for some silly reason. But like, yeah, there's a lot of technology that goes into it, and a lot of time on the programming side to make sure that this stuff runs. But like Jared was saying, like without that density or that claustrophobic feeling in the jungle, you just don't really get the same kind of feeling or the mood as the '87 movie. So we had to overcome those hurdles. Just kind of pulling ourselves back when we're actually making these things. To make them perform it and make them be able to run on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, that was something we found out pretty early on through play testing, was that we could not play test if there was not foliage. It just completely broke everything without having the Predator would just get destroyed, because without the ability to have that cover, it just completely broke the game. So we were constantly had to place temporary foliage just to make sure it was play testable.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is that the Predator franchise has been around for, what are we at, 30 plus years now? It's been a while, and you guys have so many different things to pull from. Was there a specific reason you guys honed in specifically on the '87 movie?
Because it's the best movie.
Good answer. Yeah.
Right?
But I guess also to be clear, you're not adapting the movie, right? It's not like you're doing a one-to-one. This is sort of its standalone.
No, that's been the great part. Is we've been working with Fox on expanding the canon and the IP, and working with them on adding to it. So there's been a great amount of effort from us with Fox, the IP holders, to go like, okay, what happened after this last movie? How can we add to it to make some things make sense and make some things, add, and a lot of those things we'll actually touch on a little bit more with this. But yeah, I mean, if to do the Predator fans and the fan base, and I consider all of us at Illfonic massive fans, the idea of starting in the jungle and having that experience that actually naturally happens, which is really cool, where we have a predator come in, start to take out a guy, or takes out a guy, and then the entire fire team turns the corner and just starts firing at the jungle as the predator runs away, and that natural scene goes like, holy shit, we accidentally made that scene, or it naturally just happened. And the first time that, like, I think 2 or 3 of us pulled out miniguns, and another guy had another heavy weapon, and we're just trying to kill this guy by all means. It's like that, when that was done, I was like, holy crap, we didn't mean to redo that scene, but that scene just happened with it. And it's just a really exciting thing, because I've been a Predator fan since a kid. I remember running around the woods pretending that there was a predator hunting me, and it's really cool to be able to do this now, where it's like, now a predator is hunting me, and it's usually Jordan, and pisses me off whenever he kills me.
Yeah, it's really that feeling that we were going for, that you get when you're watching that movie. It's like these guys going in to do this mission, and they don't know what's waiting for them. They just expect a run-of-the-mill, go in, get out, everything's fine, but halfway through something goes terribly wrong, and now every single click and branch snap and ruffle of leaves could be something that's going to murder you. So,
Was there anything from Predator, because I feel like so many things from films make their ways into video games, stealth, clambering, those sorts of things. Was there anything that when you guys were making the game you found that worked really well in a video game form, or didn't? Maybe like disc throwing was complicated or something like that?
mud.
Mud was tough? What about mud is tough?
Well, visually, it's actually pretty good for us, because we get to, anytime you make anything wet, it looks good. It's like the reflectivity of everything in the map, and having like the leaves and stuff feel like they're wet, and the mud and all that, the water and all that stuff gives us a kind of a visual sheen that we can put pretty much across the whole map, which was really cool. So for us, it's that visual candy that we can supply to the fans. For design, I'm sure it's probably a little bit different, because it actually is a gameplay mechanic that allows you to camouflage yourself.
Yeah, out of anything from the movies, that was something that we knew we needed to put in there, and it was just one of those things that worked out really well. Once again, everything from that movie just fits so well when you're thinking about this type of game, because it just is a really great thing to put in there for balance reasons, letting the fire team get their opportunity to also be the hunters. And they can mud up, get hide in a bush, and the predator's gonna have a really tough time seeing them, and they could turn the tides pretty quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah, it seems like we're at a point now with technology that you can more or less recreate movie-like moments with what's available now. And actually, it's one of those weird things where it looks like a faithful adaptation, and I've played a little bit of it, and I know that it plays like one. So it's cool that we're in this time that you can do something like that. So I just want to say that's cool. Good job.
Thank you.
You and your small
Adam.
30-man team. Hey, you're welcome. I know you look for my praise.
Always.
But then also I want to talk more about the design of the art. The Predators themselves obviously is a very established design that we're very familiar with. Was there anything that you guys had to strictly stick to, or were you allowed any sort of freedom in the design to add or change anything?
We had a little bit of leeway. Obviously, we were working directly with Fox, and they were really good about giving us the feedback that we needed in order to try to create our version of the Predator. We originally started with trying to making sure that we went through the process with 87, and we nailed 87, got the sign off from Fox, and then we rolled into our version of it. But we wanted ours to have some cues from the original 87, but not necessarily be directly associated with it. So we took some of the cues from the latest movie, which the design on that had more smooth and round and more refined shapes. So we wanted to do that, but at the same time we wanted to have some of that the sectioning of of the metals and the cut lines and things like that. And what we came up with, felt a lot more smooth and streamlined than original Jungle Hunter. Like what we started off with, we originally only had the Hunter, right? And then we expanded it to the Berserker and the Scout class. So this was a good starting point because it was the middle ground, and then we could build out from each one of those. So
I mean, really, it's not only just the movies. I mean, all of the Predator fans here probably have read the comics, have seen the toys, or have the toys, and the fan base is not just the movie. Like the novels are there, but they're describing it. But like I feel like the comics, like Dark Horse and all those guys have done such a great job on adding to the canon. So we really did grab a lot of reference from the entire, universe of everything, and making our own guys was definitely there. And when do we get to the females? Is that like next?
Huh?
The females?
They're
They're coming up.
coming
But yeah, I mean, it's like for the male predators, it was kind of we all have seen many male predators. We've seen all that stuff, and there's a bunch of those. I think that Trammell and his team did an amazing job to add to it. But it's definitely the addition to the universe that we worked with Fox heavily to get the addition of the females.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. I mean, a lot of back and forth with Fox to make sure that we gave them, an opportunity to give their feedback and actually kind of mold that with us, because, like Jared was saying, it was something that was going into their lexicon. So they wanted to make sure that whatever we were creating was faithful to the franchise, did justice to it. And that back and forth lasted a long time. It seemed like it was a really painful process, but anything that you're trying to create that somebody owns, that IP is their responsibility to protect it. And you get these wahoos up here trying to add something to your stuff, and you want to protect it. So I understand the length of time it took to actually get to this point where we can actually present to you guys for the first time in Predator lore, officially, a Predator that is female.
Well, there were comics too, but
They're not canon, though.
They are now. But yeah, I mean, it was really just an amazing process, but it was a very time-consuming and frustrating for all parties, for sure. It was like just back and forth, change this, change that. But I mean, it is one of those things where it was a necessary addition to the universe, I feel. I mean, where do baby boy predators come from? They have to, I mean, they have, like, do they hatch? Or, I mean, there has to be something. But the addition of the female predators is definitely something that we're really proud of, that we were able to bring to this universe, and really worked quite a bit to do this, and for us to do it and add it, it's really kind of awesome.
When we showed a little bit in the trailer that you had different classes, different characters like that, was that something that came up in development, or was it sort of did it come from a design choice, or like when did that come up during your guys' time on the game?
That was like
Yeah, it was early.
it was fairly early.
Yeah.
But it was a conversation that Jared and I had. We had made some call about customization or something like that, and I was like, well, we should probably make 3 Predators then. And he was like, oh, that'd be great. And then I realized how much it took to make 3 Predators. I was like, damn, I just put my foot in my mouth. But it worked out. And
I might have Jedi mind tricked him.
yeah, I think he tricked me into it. But it worked out, and we ended up with these, really good classes. And it came in that development process. The original design only called for the one type, male and female, and then the classes came on after. And I think it added a lot to the game. Gives people a lot of options.
Moving on to our next subject, obviously you can't have a video game without sound. I'm ignorant to this whole world. I assume sound effects already exist, and you just download them from sounddog.com or
Yeah,
something.
we don't amazingly enough, we didn't just download the Unreal Sound Pack.
Oh, really?
For this, no.
Yeah.
So, a lot of attention went into the sound effects and the weapon fire, the predator sounds. We used Westwood out of the UK that work on Star Wars and James Bond and a ton of different things. So we went out into the woods to make sure that the reverb was right and shot a bunch of assault weapons. Unfortunately, I don't think they fully notified all of the people around because
They were blanks though.
sure, but they didn't know it. And so we shot a minigun in the woods, and yeah, it kind of pissed people off. And then we shot a Barrett 50 cal, and that really freaked out a lot of the people. And then it just got worse. And it was pretty wild. But it was an amazing day. It was just kind of one of those little kid moments where you always think about running around the woods with your friends shooting guns and stuff like that. And luckily enough, they were all blanks, and it was super legal, and it was no danger, and it ended up great. We got a lot of awesome sound out of it. And then with Westwood, they also have, I think we have a Foley photo, but a full Foley area with very talented people that know how to make crazy squishy sounds and really weird stuff in this room where it was just wild how they would make the sounds that you hear in games with common things. So like they went and grabbed pounds of meat and stabbed the meat, and it sounded exactly like a predator ripping things through, and it was just a really fun time. But that's just a part of it. A lot of us know the 87 theme, and unfortunately, in 1987, they really didn't have digital anything, so that soundtrack was done on a big reel-to-reel tape. And so our audio director and our CEO Chuck literally found the original keyboard from the soundtrack from the film. So we had to cart that thing, get it booted up, and literally go through, I think it was like 2,000 sound files to find that just that one thing. And then we connected it to all the computers, and we finally got it, and we remastered the entire original theme to today's standards, which was really amazing. And we used a live orchestra, and that's actually our drumline session where we had that. We redid all of that stuff, and just the amount of effort and time that our audio team did is astounding for one song. But the great part is our composer took really that vibe of 87, and he made a ton of new stems and sound elements that fill the entire game with some really amazing audio, and it feels just like that 87 orchestral type of thing. It was a really great process to be a part of. And I think then we go to the Foley.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, one of the biggest things about bringing something from such an iconic movie is going to be the sounds, because of how heavily movies get sound designed. It's always important, especially with Predator. He has so many iconic sounds tied directly to the character itself. So being able to capture those and kind of bring those in is, a big part of that feeling, that, just hearing the clicks in the trees and the noises that he's making and trying to distinguish that between everything else. It all goes into how they've done an awesome job with all the sound design to make sure it feels like you're in this hot, muggy jungle, and you need to listen for every single footstep to make sure that it's not a big thud that could be charging right at you.
Right, and then different from a movie, you're also designing in a 3D environment, so obviously you have one sound effect, but it can't sound too loud here or there because you also have a character that's working around stealth. So imagine that's another extra hurdle you guys have to always get through every day.
Yeah.
That's always crazy. And then, quick shout out, it was Pinewood, Jared, not
Pinewood.
Westwood.
Oh, sorry. Oh. I always get those. Yeah.
You guys write them out. Yeah. I guess also, we can move on to the other part, but obviously you guys are doing mocap in the game. No secret, that's I guess industry standard. This is one of the ways that you capture animation now. Have there been any challenges or any advantages, do you feel like, actually working with mocap as opposed to traditional 3D animation?
I mean, we had to do some hand key stuff, but mocap gives you more of a natural feel, obviously, because you're actually, recording human motion. One of the things that, people kind of don't really understand that you can put anybody in a suit and record those motions, but you need like a professional, like someone who actually can emote, bigger than normal, bigger than life, in order to like bring those motions to life. So like even with any animation, exaggeration, squash and stretch, all these standard principles of animation apply to mocap as well, or else you end up with this, flat, flaccid kind of, animation recording. So, TJ Storm was one of our mocaption actors. He did a lot of stuff, did a lot of work. He actually was in the last Predator movie as the Super Predator. And was Godzilla and did a bunch of other movies like that. So he's a really good mocap actor, and he's like takes direction really well. Like working with him was a breeze. He would suggest certain things like, oh yeah, I get this, at this point in time I want to do something like this. What do you think about that? And I'm like, go for it. So the guy was just like 100% like into it and really, really jazzed about being able to do it. And you could tell like when he was, actually doing his actions, he would get into it and he'd be like, oh, I want to do that again. And he was just really excited about being in this game. So it was, shout out to TJ Storm for doing his job.
He was amazing at killing people, really. Like,
Yeah,
it was weird. He knew how to pull out spines so well.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing he could do. But also, like right here, we're showing like some wire work, and one of the things that going into it, and he recognized like how involved that stuff is. It took us like at least 2 hours to set up.
Oh yeah, it was the entire day that day was.
And then once
just
you get
wires.
it set up, you don't want to do any other shots except for wire work. So a lot of stuff was like really time intensive. But we had like really good actors that are these two actors that worked together before, so they were very familiar with the way they move and how they need to move.
To put to scale, that person that he's killing is 6 feet tall. He's actually he's 8'3", I think. So. We really did luck out with Sony being our publisher too, because that's the Sony Santa Monica studio where they do mocap for God of War and Death Stranding and all these crazy games. And so for us to be a small indie studio going in and using essentially their dad's equipment was pretty amazing. And yeah, I mean just touch to TJ, like he came in just super hyped on everything that he was doing and knowing so well how to emote, and like when he would just start, like he would just get into like he just was the Predator. And luckily enough he was in the film, so he probably just kind of dusted off his Predator brain, but he just fucking killed it. It was so rad.
That's awesome. And then obviously you guys have mountains of references to pull from. Was there any moment where there was something you ran up against where you're like, oh wait, we've never seen a Predator to do this that we're doing in our video game that like you've never actually seen in a movie?
Well, the bow stuff is brand new. We were able to add more of a kind of a traditional bow, but it's Predator style to the game, and we did those motions at that point in time too. So yeah, like being able to invent stuff for the weapons for the Predator was also really cool, because now hopefully these things kind of live on in the Predator lore. So yeah, we did mocap for that stuff. And did we add any? What else did we?
I'd say the melee stuff was actually pretty fun. That was actually another great thing TJ was fantastic with, is he has a lot of weapons training with like martial arts weapons and things. So I had talked to him beforehand and kind of gave him a rundown of all the weapons we were doing for melee. And we worked together to set up a lot of the combos with the different weapons, like the combi stick and the wrist blades and stuff. So he did a fantastic job with that too. And that's something you haven't seen a ton of in a lot of the movies. A lot of it's a little bit more ranged and kind of quick when it is anything having to do with the blades. So that was really fun.
And dangerous. Like
yes.
There were points where we were throwing his stunt person like super far, and there were times where we probably were gonna kill her. I think and it was.
That's what the wires were for.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. Like we had like Hollywood rigging guys like making sure that when they threw her, she would fly the way she would, but then slow down like right before she smashed onto the ground. And we had pads and all that, but it was just like, this was the first time that I've ever seen anything like this. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be so bad. But yeah, massive professionals.
Right, but everyone's safe. Right?
Everyone's
no one's
safe.
harmed in the making
Yep,
of this
yep.
yet, so we're all good. You're using obviously state-of-the-art technology. You guys are using the head scanning technology, which you guys brought some images here. So walk us through the process of how you scan an actor into a video game.
Yeah, and again, big ups to Sony for allowing us to use the equipment down in San Diego. This was, part of the process. So we find actors. We got a couple of people that Jared knew, as well as some models. This is one of the models, and this is kind of part of the process. So they put them in this. I guess it's like a cage filled with like 260 something DSLR cameras, and they basically take a photograph of the head from every angle, all in like at one split second, and that data gets translated into 3D, just like a point cloud, and then that point cloud gets turned into polygons. So, and that's the whole process of doing that. So we go through a range of motions to get like wrinkles and things like that. So eye blinks, strains, things like that. And so this is the actual high poly that we got from the photographs. So this is probably like a couple million triangles. So it's a fairly accurate representation of his head, along with the texture maps and all that stuff. And then that goes into, we basically have to make a homogenized kind of version of the heads, male and female. And so the shapes change just a little bit, and this is the in-game model. So we added some hair, and those are one of the things that you can kind of swap out. And then we kind of go through, I think we had 8 different heads that we go through, a lot of different actors. So you can just keep, scrolling through that same process. It takes pretty much all day to do that.
Mm-hmm. But for something like the Predator's design and face, you didn't do this technology.
Yeah, we found the Predator out in the street and asked him
Name's
to come
Chris.
through. Yeah. No, the Predator stuff is all handmade.
Gotcha. Yeah. When you guys are casting or looking for specific actors or characters, was there anything that you had in mind, or are you just kind of going for a general feel for a character? Because also it's in first person, so it's you seeing
can
other
see your
people.
teammates in third person.
Right.
So we wanted like a good range of ethnicities, so that everybody's included and things like that. You can alter your characters in game, but we wanted a good subset of people, a good representation in the game, so that everybody had something for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And this is you guys directing them, saying like, we want this, or do they have like a palette of faces that they have to go through basically to get everything?
Yeah, I don't know why Alicia Marie had to show her teeth like Predator right now. But Sony has a kind of a script that they run through. We need you to do this, tongue out, mouth open, look surprised, etc. We provided them with the morph targets that we wanted to create for the game. And, they, within that, they also create wrinkle maps for like when they, grimace or something like that. You get like the normal map detail on the forehead and things like that. So yeah, there is like a set script of things that they have to do, and they just kind of go through that every time we do a new head.
That's cool. Yeah, I like in the behind the scenes stuff. Speaking of which, voice acting.
Oh.
This is a thing that's near and dear to my heart. I love voice actors. I think they're the greatest people on this earth. That's not true. No, but when you're doing voice acting for this, you're obviously bringing in people who know what they're working on. How do you? So this is explain to us who this individual is right now. Who is he doing?
So this was Jan, and she did the voice for the female Predator, and the Predator's extremely iconic. His clicks and chirps and everything are really crazy, but that was done with a mixture of human and animals and all of that. So we had to, base it off. We all felt a female, and so we had a casting call on females making monster voices, which was really kind of a very strange thing. But we only got audio, right? So when she came in, she was dressed like a freaking librarian, and it's like, okay, cool. This is going to be what, you know, the person doing this, and it was so shocking when she started belting out these horrifying sounds, and like honestly, I was really kind of taken aback by it, because she would just do these weird, terrible sounds, and she did an amazing job, and she ended up doing one of our fire team members as well. And it turns out that she was on. She's done quite a few games like Fallout and some other Bethesda games, which was really kind of fun. But yeah, she did a bang out job. She didn't blow her voice out amazingly enough. And yeah, we have a little bit of her in the trailer, but we'll start to have more of her, the female predator sounds coming out in the next couple of months. But yeah, she did an amazing job. And then our other voice actors, some of you might know.
Who's this man singing?
Our buddy Bruce Green. He was one. We had James and Elise Willems, and Mr. Sark of Machinima and YouTube fame, and then little baby Adam Kovic.
Yeah, he said I was just temp, and then you kept me in the game, so that's cool.
Yeah, literally the worst voice actor in the world.
He said that plenty of times.
I mean, I wish we were able to show the film, but there's too much me screaming at him and cussing at him. It's as if he goes into like Robin Williams mode, and he, like, every line he does, he questions it after that. I mean, we'll be lucky if we ship with him in the game, honestly. But
this is the first, I believe, like, commercial product I've worked on, which I'm very grateful for as a huge Predator fan. I didn't know the process was Jared sitting behind a glass window on his phone while I'm looking at an Excel spreadsheet, which says basically it's a mix of grunts and fucks, which isn't what you think it is. It's more me dying and saying, darn, it hurts.
yeah, we're gonna cut a lot of that into something else, though.
I at some point I figured it was just blackmail, but I was half joking before I was saying though. But man, voice acting is a ride. It is like many hours of just standing there screaming, blowing your voice out, and even for, like, I have a simple role. I'm just a guy running around with a gun. I don't have any, like.
Yeah, you're a fire team member.
Yeah, it's like I have like a line, but it's like the amount that goes into that. I definitely gain an appreciation for it, and it's some crazy work that goes into this stuff. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, it was really great. I mean, really with the IP, you know, the fire team have to be gristled badasses, you know, operators that, you know, don't sound like Adam. So, you know, this is for the rest of this panel. It's just me making fun of Adam.
Yeah.
But you know, like, James and Elise really killed it. We had TJ Storm back. We had a couple other professional voice actors. But it is one of those things where, you know, going back to the female predator and really just kind of reimagining her and the monster that creature was really crazy. But having that, and then getting these fire team members, and then other, you know, actors that we were working with, kind of bringing this all together. And you know, so Sark plays the operations head, so he's the guy that's in your ear telling you what's going on with the missions. And I've worked with Sark in the past on a previous game, and he's just a funny guy, and so keeping him not sounding like he's making fun of you the entire time was kind of a fun part. But you know, the game itself is really, I mean, we wanted to make something with a bunch of our friends. You know, TJ Storm is now a friend, and you know, just the passion that we wanted to put into this is really because of the IP. It's really because of the fans. We wanted to do the Predator fan base as much of a service as we possibly could. I mean, you know, 87 is such an amazing movie. The rest are movies, and you know, it's just one of those things where we felt that, like, we should do a lot more with that. And I don't think we really touched much on, like, the you know, the backstory and all that, but it is happening after the Predator. It is a really great and awesome experience for us to work with, like the story of moving forward. The OWLF is back. Stargazer is now the enemies that you're fighting, because they are now fallen, from grace. And so the game itself, I'm just super hyped on, because it's kind of, a fan getting to work with this thing and really kind of try to make a lot of things connect with all of the other movies, and touching on some of the comics and touching on some of the fandom that's out there. I think that we really pushed a lot, and with Trammell and the art team taking the Predators to that higher level and everything like that, it's just been a really fun process.
I did want to touch a little bit on this one, just because mentioning you're creating voice work for an all new character. Is that something where you come in and say, it's kind of hard to describe a sound that you're looking for, right? You can point to a pre-existing one, which comes from the male Predator, but when you have a voice actor come in, do they bring something and they say, I'm working with this, and you tweak from there, or is it you giving the direction first?
Well, we started from the click, and then we had her scream a lot and make as many crazy noises as she possibly could. And that was the wild part is the human voice can make some really strange noises, but Peter, who did the original Predator voice, who also did Optimus Prime and a bunch of other stuff back in the day, he did that click, and that click is extremely iconic. You hear that, throughout the game. If the Predator's cloaked, he clicks, and kind of the backstory that we did with that is kind of like that click is almost like his just kind of excitement. And so having her do the click was really kind of cool to hear a female take on it. And then just had her make growls and screams and screeches, and then just kind of overdubbing and adding new elements to it was really really wild process.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're all very excited to see where it goes. And right now, as we know, the release date is around the corner, not being delayed like every other game this year.
Dude, thank you, Cyberpunk. Thank you so much. We are fucking open for business, people. April is still the target for it. We're really excited to hit all that. It's running. We're running fast. We shouldn't be here, honestly. We should be working right now.
How are you guys? Where are you in development right now? How close do you guys feel you're at with the game?
We're battening the hatches.
Yeah, everything's getting wrapped up. So yeah, April's right around the corner, and game development time, that's just nothing. It'll be here before we know it. So yes, just the last bits, cleaning it up. I was talking to Jordan earlier. He's, just tightening up the last bits of design.
Tightening all the screws, getting it all in good shape.
Signing up level 3.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people know. This is a pretty fast turnaround time, right? In the it's basically the timeline of game development. Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah.
18
No,
months.
it's not even.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
18-month dev cycle.
Yeah.
Was there a point? I want to ask this question earlier in the panel, but I was just curious. Was there a point where, when you're working on adapting a game that's an established property, where there's a point where it's kind of in limbo, you don't know, there's the talking. Was there a part where you guys were already creating tech and ideas that were like, if we don't get this, we can't use it?
I was working on this game when we were finishing up F-13.
Which is
And
a while ago.
this was before we had contracts. This was when lawyers were sword fighting out in the streets. And it was, I think that there were multiple, I would say for a good few months, there was not a day that our CEO would not call me and say, we're not doing this, the game's not going. And it was just sheer will of okay, let's go back, let's cool down, let's try to get this. I mean, honestly, getting PlayStation and Fox, who's getting bought by Disney at the time, to come together and approve all this stuff, it was fun. It was I think I got all my gray hairs from that. But yeah, we were working on the idea, mentally playing the game talking through it, many phone calls and like figuring that out. I mean, I think we made it, the Predator, we were working on the Predators, I mean, shit, we were working on the game before like ink was even signed.
Yeah, we took a leap of faith because we spent a lot of money working on a game that we didn't actually have. So
Yeah. So if it didn't get signed, it would have been like another, like, this seems awfully like Predator. This is kind of weird. Why is this guy, why is Tarzan running around hunting dudes in the military? This is so strange. But luckily enough, it worked out for us.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I mean, I think it's really great. And then one of the things you're talking about, like Sark being in the game, I've known him for years, and I think one of the first things I knew about him was he's a huge Predator fan. He's like, that was his dream, was to work on a movie like Predator, and I thought it was cool when you guys got him. So it definitely feels like everyone working on the project is a fan of the property, and I think that's kind of a thing you don't see very often. I think it's kind of
important.
Yes.
You would think, yeah.
Very important to make sure that if you're bringing something so established in, like, people need to love the product and be able to give it that love that it deserves.
yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't say it's not just love, but respect for it.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody respects what they've created and, you know, the ideas that go into it. So bringing anything from us coming to the table with those ideas, that level of respect of that product has to be there in order for you to do any kind of justice to it.
Is there anything, because you guys are kind of a smaller team, is there anything you wish you had more time or you were able to put into the game that you feel like you didn't have time where you guys are at now?
I don't think, even if we had 150 people, we would always ask for more time.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, I think the timetable that we made this game in, the people that we had to do it with, kind of kept us honest, you know, because the cavalry's not coming over the hill. You're not getting more money. You're not getting more time. So you got to make those calls that, you know, sometimes they're hard calls, but you got to make them because, you know, time's getting short.
I think the big thing, though, that, I mean, all of us, you know, I think that was the number one question is like, you know, no single player, I'm not interested, or something like that. But, you know, the Predator game and playing as a Predator, hunting AI, I mean, we all played a ton of video games where it's like you're supposed to be stealth and you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. But really, the Predator hunting other human players makes it the most Predator experience you could possibly have. Like, if it was a single-player game, sure, we could give you more story, we could give you more stuff like that, but really what we wanted to make was the most Predator experience and allow people to feel like they're the Predator and hunt the most dangerous thing, which is not an AI, it's actually another human. And so, you know, we of course wish we had time to do a single player, but, you know, it is 30 some odd people. To add a single player to the expectation of what single player games are now today, it would have been, you know, the game wouldn't have come out for 3 more years. And so, you know, I think that what we did and the idea that we had was to give you that experience of being hunted by a predator is extremely stressful. If you're a fire team, you're the last guy, you're trying to get to the chopper, you're trying to, you know, mud up and hide, and you're just like, oh fuck, was that him? And you see this cloaked thing run through the trees, and you know that it's another person trying to rip your skull out. It gives you a much more exciting experience than if we were to make it a single player game, because it would have been an AI that was triggered because you hit a script, and it would do that, and we'd play the sounds, and you play that once and you would never come back to it. With this, the idea is for you to play over and over again and have those great water cooler moments, or have that one game where as a predator you wiped the entire team, or you get into that last scenario where you're like, oh my god, these are those scenes from that film that just naturally happen. I mean, that's really what we wanted to do, and that's what, you know, I feel like even if we had the time and the team, I still feel like what we made versus like this big robust story. And who knows, maybe the game does really well and everyone's like, we want this bigger thing, and someone says yes. But, you know, it's just, this game that we're making is the most Predator experience we could possibly make. And so, yeah, we always want more time. Trammell always wants more people. I always want more designers. But I think that what we're going to produce for all of you fans is going to be a fun game for you to play. And it will evolve. It will continue to be supported. It will continue to have more stuff. We're not supposed to talk about that, but I just want you all to know that. Sorry, Shannon. But yeah, like the game we're making is going to be awesome. It's fun. We're playing it all.
Went to great lengths. I think one of the biggest things at the front was just making sure we went to great lengths to establish a different experience every single time you go into a match, so that it is not the same thing. You're going in there and you don't know what's going to happen, and that's where those moments become even more special, is when you are the last guy getting to the chopper, you're just about to grab that line to get pulled up, and you get combi sticked into a wall, and you're done. Like those hair trigger moments that get created when you can make sure that every single time you're dropping in, nothing is the same. And that's where I think the magic is really coming from it. And of course, that's, being able to tie the IP to that just makes it that much more special, because then you're inside the movie at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I definitely want to touch on, just from both of your guys' backgrounds. I've known Jared for a decade now, and I think one of the things I've always respected about him is that he has always had a familiarity, at least a acknowledgement of the online audience, that they're not just playing games, they're watching games. And also with Jordan's background as well, and then mine, is that something that you guys have to constantly keep in mind these days when you're making games, is how will this be perceived by a live viewing audience who's not just playing, but they're also watching it?
Yeah, it's a large portion of how we plan out a lot of our design calls is this fun to play, and is it fun to watch something happening? Is it able to be viewed as well? Because a lot of it comes down to some things can be fun to play, but when you're watching it, it's tough to track, it's tough to digest what's happening on screen, and making sure that those elements all come together so that we're creating a good experience for any kind of streamers or YouTubers or anyone that wants to play it, as well as the people that are watching it enjoy watching them play it as well. So a lot of our decisions come down to, hey, that's a little too jarring, let's take it out. Or that this would create a better moment if we allowed them to do this, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Is that always like a hard balance to strike, though? Where, like, obviously you don't want to make a game that is, we've seen this before, where it's like streamer bait, or it's YouTube bait, where it's like, play this because it's broken and silly, but then at the same time you guys just want to make a good game.
Yeah, and that's where it's been really helpful having the background, is being able to know both sides of that coin and being able to design towards that and make calls based on what we feel is going to not muddle the experience by trying to cater to that, but making sure everything fits together very nicely in the grand design of all the games that we make. So
You gonna stream the game when it's out?
probably not. I'm gonna play it a lot, but I don't know about streaming it.
And we're running really low on time, but is there anything else you guys wanted to get out that maybe we didn't touch on or we didn't hit, or anything you want to say about the game that?
I don't think we can talk about anything else.
Yeah, I think Sony would be really happy if we said you can pre-order the game and you get access to things. But yeah, I mean, really the big thing about it is, I mean, if you're a Predator fan, we hope that we're doing the IP service, and we feel like you guys enjoy it and want to play.
Yeah, really excited to see what people think, because I feel like our entire team has done such a great job of really capturing the experience and being able to present it to everyone. I'm just really excited to see how people react,
Gotcha.
especially the Predator fans.
Cool. Oh, and I got a note here. I was supposed to read it before the panel. The trailer has violence, so if there are any children in the audience, please cover their eyes or have them leave the room.
Good job, Adam.
Thank you. So that's our panel. Thank you, everyone, for coming, guys. Be sure to check out the game.